What if the first face you ever saw, the first embrace you ever felt, and the first voice you ever heard weren't just personal experiences, but archetypal imprints on your soul? Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, believed that the mother archetype is one of humanity's most profound and universal symbols, a dual force of creation and destruction, light and shadow. But why does this archetype remain so vital across time and culture? Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who founded analytical psychology, profoundly shaped our understanding of the human mind. His concept of archetypes, universal symbols rooted in our shared unconscious, offers a powerful lens through which we can understand ourselves and the world around us. Among these archetypes, the mother stands out as one of the most potent. Jung described the mother archetype as a primal force that shapes our earliest experiences and influences us throughout our lives. But this archetype is not confined to biological mothers. It represents the universal forces of nurture, growth, and creation, and their darker counterparts. In Jung's own words, the mother is the first world we encounter, embodying both light and shadow, nurture and control. From the warmth of an embrace to the protection of a home, the mother archetype resonates deeply because it speaks to something universal: the need for care, safety, and connection. But just as the archetype offers love and protection, it can also stifle growth when overextended. This duality is why Jung saw the mother archetype as both life-giving and life-defining. To understand this archetype, we must first explore its roots in the collective unconscious. Jung described the collective unconscious as a vast reservoir of shared human experiences, instincts, and symbols that transcend individual memory. The mother, in this context, is not just a personal figure, but a universal one. She is the soil from which humanity grows, the source of both strength and vulnerability. This archetype finds expression in myths, religions, and cultural narratives across the globe, reflecting our shared psychological reality. But why has the mother archetype endured for millennia? Because it mirrors the forces of life itself. In the natural world, the nurturing soil that fosters growth can also suffocate if it becomes too dense. Similarly, the protective energy of a mother can transform into control, preventing independence. These contradictions make the mother archetype so compelling and so necessary. Jung warned that ignoring archetypes like the mother leads to unconscious patterns shaping our lives without our awareness. The mother archetype, in particular, influences how we relate to care, safety, and growth. It shapes our ability to give and receive love, to create and to let go. Recognizing this influence isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's a path to deeper self-awareness and transformation. From the fertile earth that nurtures seeds to the comforting embrace of a parent, the mother archetype surrounds us. But its power isn't just in its light, it's also in its shadow. To truly understand this archetype, we must explore its manifestations across myths and religions, where its dual nature comes alive in timeless stories. Across cultures and centuries, the mother archetype has been immortalized in myths and religions. For Carl Jung, these stories were more than cultural relics. They were expressions of the collective unconscious, revealing universal truths about humanity. By examining how different societies have depicted the mother, we gain insight into her dual nature, nurturing yet destructive, loving yet indifferent. One of the earliest and most enduring representations of the mother archetype is Gaia, the primordial goddess of Greek mythology. Gaia, the personification of Earth itself, gave birth to the heavens, the seas, and the Titans. She is both the creator and the sustainer of life. But Gaia's story is not solely one of nurture. She also incited rebellion against Uranus, her oppressive partner. This act of defiance highlights a critical aspect of the mother archetype, the power to protect life by challenging what threatens it. In Christianity, the Virgin Mary represents the archetype's nurturing and compassionate side. Mary, often depicted cradling the infant Jesus, embodies unconditional love and self-sacrifice. Yet even within her serenity there is quiet strength, a reflection of the archetype's resilience and transformative power. Mary's image has shaped Western ideals of motherhood for centuries, emphasizing care, devotion, and the capacity to endure suffering. Contrast this with Kali, the Hindu goddess of time, change, and destruction. With her fierce expression, necklace of skulls, and outstretched tongue, Kali embodies the shadow side of the Mother Archetype. She is terrifying yet protective, destructive yet purifying. Kali's energy reminds us that creation and destruction are intertwined, that life's renewal often requires the dismantling of old structures. Jung himself noted that the Mother Archetype is fertile, nurturing, but also indifferent and destructive, a force that gives and takes in equal measure. The archetype's representation varies across cultures because it adapts to the psychological and societal needs of each community. In agrarian societies, the nurturing aspects of the mother often take precedence, as seen in fertility goddesses like Demeter. In contrast, cultures facing upheaval or conflict may emphasize the archetype's protective or destructive sides, as seen in figures like Kali or the Norse goddess Hel. These myths are not just stories. They are mirrors reflecting our collective psyche. They reveal our hopes and fears, our need for care, and our struggle with control. Consider the modern concept of Mother Earth. This archetype, deeply rooted in ancient traditions, has become a symbol for environmentalism, calling humanity to nurture the planet as it nurtures us. Yet, even as we honor the Earth's life-giving power, we are reminded of its destructive force through natural disasters. This duality underscores the archetype's enduring relevance. But myths are only the beginning. The Mother Archetype lives not only in stories but also within us, shaping how we experience care, safety, and growth. To truly understand its influence, we must explore both its light and shadow in our own lives, a journey that begins in the next chapter. Every human life begins in the embrace of the mother, a connection that shapes our understanding of love, safety, and identity. Carl Jung, in his exploration of the Mother Archetype, described this light side as the nurturing force that fosters growth and independence. It is the warmth of the sun, the fertile soil that supports roots, and the shelter that protects us from harm. But what does this nurturing energy truly look like, and why is it so essential to human development? Jung believed that the light side of the Mother Archetype reflects a balance between care and independence. A healthy maternal influence instills a sense of security, allowing an individual to explore the world with confidence. This balance is critical to what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming one's true self. He explained, "The mother's light is the warmth of life. It is the soil in which our roots grow. Without this nurturing force, our sense of identity can wither, leaving us ungrounded and insecure." Cultural myths have long celebrated this life-giving energy. In Greek mythology, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, exemplifies maternal devotion. When her daughter Persephone was taken to the underworld, Demeter's grief plunged the earth into winter, halting the growth of crops. Only when Persephone returned did spring bloom again, symbolizing the mother's role as the sustainer of life. This myth reminds us that nurturing is not passive. It is an active force that enables growth, resilience, and renewal. In everyday life, the light side of the Mother Archetype manifests in countless ways. It's the teacher who patiently guides her students, the mentor who fosters talent, and the friend who offers a listening ear. This nurturing energy isn't confined to biological mothers. It is present in anyone who supports the growth and well-being of others. By embodying this archetype, we create an environment where others can thrive. But nurturing isn't just about offering comfort. It's also about fostering independence. A truly balanced, maternal figure knows when to let go, encouraging autonomy while remaining a source of unconditional support. This delicate balance is evident in the concept of positive parenting, which emphasizes empathy, encouragement, and the importance of allowing children to learn through experience. Jung saw this balance as essential for healthy psychological development. Without it, care can become control, and love can turn into dependence. The light side of the Mother Archetype, also resonates in broader societal movements. Environmentalism, often symbolized by Mother Earth, calls on humanity to care for the planet as it has cared for us. This reciprocal relationship mirrors the nurturing dynamic of the archetype, one that sustains life through mutual respect and stewardship. Yet even as we honor the archetype's nurturing qualities, we must acknowledge its shadow. The same energy that fosters growth can stifle it when unbalanced. To fully understand the Mother Archetype, we must explore its darker aspects, a journey that begins in the next chapter. For every story of a nurturing mother, there is a tale of one who binds, controls, or consumes. Carl Jung warned that the Mother Archetype, like all archetypes, contains both light and shadow. The same energy that fosters growth can stifle it. The same love that protects can smother. This duality is at the heart of the archetype's power and its danger. Jung described the shadow side of the Mother Archetype as the devouring mother, a figure who clings too tightly, preventing growth and autonomy. In myths, this shadow is vividly illustrated. Consider Medea, the tragic figure of Greek mythology. Consumed by jealousy and betrayal, Medea kills her own children. A horrifying example of maternal love turned destructive. While extreme, this myth underscores a universal truth. When care becomes control, it can destroy the very life it seeks to protect. This darker side of the Mother Archetype also appears in fairy tales, where stepmothers are often portrayed as cruel and controlling. These stories, Jung believed, reflect psychological fears of maternal rejection or domination. The archetype's shadow isn't limited to individual relationships. It is a collective symbol of the dangers of overreach and possessiveness. But the shadow mother isn't confined to myth and story. In real life, this archetype manifests when care becomes control, when protection turns into overprotection, or when love becomes conditional. It's the parent who discourages independence out of fear, the mentor who demands loyalty over growth, or the societal system that prioritizes conformity over individuality. As Jung observed, the mother can bind her children to herself, stifling their growth in the name of love. This shadow also operates on a collective level. Consider the concept of Mother Earth. While the planet sustains life, humanity's exploitation of its resources reflects an unbalanced relationship. The same nurturing Earth that provides sustenance can also unleash destruction through natural disasters, a reminder of the archetype's dual nature. In psychology, the shadow side of the Mother Archetype often manifests as the mother complex. For some, this results in excessive dependency, a need for constant reassurance or approval. For others, it creates resistance to nurturing relationships, driven by a fear of losing autonomy. These unconscious patterns shape how we interact with others and how we perceive care. Jung believed that the key to overcoming the shadow of the Mother Archetype lies in integration. By recognizing and confronting these unconscious patterns, we can break free from cycles of dependence, rebellion, or control. This process requires self-awareness, courage, and a willingness to embrace both the light and shadow aspects of the archetype. The shadow side of the Mother Archetype is not something to fear, but something to understand. It challenges us to confront our own patterns, to seek balance in our relationships, and to embrace growth even when it feels uncomfortable. As we'll explore in the next chapters, this integration is essential for personal and collective transformation. Carl Jung believed that our earliest relationships leave an indelible mark on our psyche, shaping how we perceive care, attachment, and independence. At the heart of this lies the mother complex, a pattern of unconscious emotional dynamics tied to the maternal figure. For Jung, this complex was more than an individual issue. It was a profound psychological force capable of influencing every facet of our lives, from personal relationships to our sense of identity. But what exactly is the mother complex? Jung described it as a constellation of emotional patterns, often operating below conscious awareness, that arise from our relationship with maternal figures. In some, this complex manifests as excessive dependence, a deep need for approval, reassurance, or guidance. In others, it emerges as resistance, a fear of care, a rebellion against authority, or an overwhelming desire for independence. Regardless of its form, the mother complex reflects the shadow side of the nurturing bond. For men, the mother complex can often manifest as what Jung called the eternal boy archetype. This is the man who remains emotionally tied to maternal energy, struggling to step into his own power. He may unconsciously seek maternal traits in romantic partners, creating dynamics of dependence and imbalance. For women, the mother complex often expresses itself through societal expectations. The pressure to conform to ideals of nurturing and caregiving, often at the expense of personal needs, reflects how deeply this complex is ingrained in cultural narratives. Sigmund Freud's relationship with his mother, Amalia, offers a striking example of the mother complex in action. Freud described his mother as his first and most profound love, a bond that profoundly shaped his life and work. This intense connection influenced his development of the Oedipus complex, a controversial theory exploring the role of maternal attachment in human psychology. While Freud's theories are debated, his life illustrates how the mother complex can inspire profound insight while simultaneously creating psychological struggles. The mother complex also reveals itself in societal dynamics as gender roles, cultural narratives about motherhood, and expectations around caregiving all reflect the collective influence of this archetype. Jung believed that these societal patterns, when unexamined, perpetuate cycles of dependence, rebellion, or control. The question, then, is how we can confront and transform this complex, both individually and collectively. Jung's answer lies in the process of individuation. To achieve psychological growth, we must recognize and integrate the unconscious patterns driving our behavior. This means examining our relationships with care, authority, and independence. Are we clinging to reassurance or rejecting nurturing relationships out of fear? Are we overly dependent on approval, or are we resisting vulnerability? These questions, though difficult, pave the way for healing and self-discovery. The mother complex isn't just a challenge. It's an opportunity, man. By confronting these patterns, we gain the freedom to build healthier relationships, embrace independence, and redefine what care means to us. And as we'll explore in the next chapter, this integration extends beyond the individual, touching on the very foundations of modern life. The mother archetype is not just a symbol of the past. It is a living force that continues to shape our modern world. From the way we view care and nurture to the roles we assign to gender and the planet itself, this archetype remains deeply woven into the fabric of our lives. But how does it manifest today, and what lessons can it teach us about navigating the complexities of modern existence? One of the most visible expressions of the mother archetype in the modern era is the concept of Mother Earth. This personification of the planet as a nurturing yet vulnerable figure has become a cornerstone of environmentalism. Like a mother, the Earth provides sustenance, shelter, and life itself. But this relationship is imbalanced. Humanity's exploitation of natural resources mirrors the shadow side of the archetype, taking without giving, nurturing without gratitude. Jung might interpret this imbalance as a reflection of the collective unconscious, urging us to reconcile our destructive tendencies with a more harmonious approach. The archetype also plays a critical role in feminism, a movement that seeks to redefine societal expectations of care and motherhood. For centuries, the idealized image of the nurturing mother was used to confine women to specific roles, limiting their autonomy. Modern feminism challenges these stereotypes, celebrating the diverse ways in which women embody the mother archetype. Whether through caregiving, leadership, or creative pursuits, this reimagining underscores the archetype's flexibility and enduring relevance. In psychology, the mother archetype continues to guide therapeutic practices. Many forms of therapy, including psychoanalysis and attachment-based approaches, focus on healing early wounds tied to maternal relationships. Therapists often take on a nurturing role, providing the emotional safety and support that clients may have lacked in childhood. This dynamic reflects the archetype's power to heal and transform, even in a professional context. The influence of the mother archetype extends to art and media as well. Films like The Lion King, with its themes of nurturing, loss, and self-discovery, and Moana, which celebrates courage and connection, draw on archetypal narratives that resonate deeply with audiences. These stories remind us of the universal truths embedded in the mother archetype. The tension between care and independence, love and control, roots and wings. But perhaps the most profound lesson of the mother archetype lies in its call for balance. In a world increasingly defined by productivity and efficiency, the nurturing qualities of patience, empathy, and renewal are often undervalued. Yet these qualities are essential, not only for individual well-being, but also for the health of communities and ecosystems. The archetype challenges us to reconnect with these values, to create a world that is not only driven but also compassionate. Jung believed that archetypes like the mother are not fixed. They evolve with us, reflecting the changing needs of humanity. In modern life, the mother archetype invites us to embrace a more balanced approach to care, one that values both nurture and independence, creation and transformation. It asks us to honor the bonds that sustain us while recognizing the importance of letting go. As we reflect on the mother archetype in contemporary contexts, one question remains: how can we embody this archetype in a way that honors its dual nature? How can we nurture without controlling, care without stifling, and grow without losing our roots? These questions remind us that the archetype is not just a relic of ancient myths. It is a living force that continues to shape our world and our lives. The mother archetype is one of humanity's oldest and most enduring symbols, but it is far from a relic of the past. It's a living force, present in our relationships, our communities, and our connection to the world around us. But what does it mean to embrace this archetype in our modern lives? How can we reconcile its duality, its capacity for nurture and control, creation and destruction, and harness its transformative power? Carl Jung believed that archetypes are not static. They evolve with us, reflecting our individual and collective journeys. The mother archetype, in particular, represents a balance of opposites: the care that nurtures growth and the challenge that fosters independence. Embracing this archetype means integrating these forces within ourselves, finding harmony between protection and freedom, between roots and wings. One way to connect with the mother archetype is through self-nurturing. In today's fast-paced world, where productivity often overshadows well-being, the simple act of caring for oneself can feel revolutionary. Yet Jung would argue that this is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Without self-care, the inner mother becomes neglected, leaving us disconnected from our emotional core. Embracing the archetype means listening to our needs, creating space for rest, and recognizing that care begins within. At the same time, the mother archetype challenges us to extend care outward, not just to others, but to the world at large. The concept of Mother Earth embodies this principle, reminding us of our interconnectedness with the planet. To nurture the earth as it nurtures us is to honor the archetype's highest ideals. Yet this relationship demands balance. Just as a parent must release their child to grow, so must we find ways to live sustainably, taking only what we need and giving back in return. But embracing the mother archetype isn't only about care, it's also about courage. Letting go, stepping back, and trusting others to grow is one of the most profound challenges of motherhood, whether literal or symbolic. This act of surrender is not weakness, it is strength, rooted in love and wisdom. As Jung wrote, the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of its parents. The mother archetype teaches us that true care is not about control, but about enabling growth and independence. In our relationships, this archetype invites us to reflect on how we nurture and how we receive care. Are we giving from a place of abundance or obligation? Are we open to receiving care without guilt or fear? These questions, though simple, reveal profound truths about how the archetype operates within us. The wisdom of the Mother Archetype also extends to communities and societies. In a world increasingly defined by division, the values of compassion, empathy, and renewal are more essential than ever. The archetype challenges us to create spaces where individuals can thrive, spaces that honor both individuality and connection. To embrace the Mother Archetype is not to seek perfection, but to embrace the journey. It's about recognizing that nurturing is a dynamic process, one that requires balance, awareness, and grace. It's about showing up, whether for ourselves, others, or the world, with an open heart and a willingness to grow. As we reach the end of this exploration, we are left with one undeniable truth. The Mother Archetype is far more than a symbol. It is a guide, a mirror, and a source of profound wisdom. It reminds us that life itself is an interplay of creation and destruction, care and challenge, light and shadow. Throughout this journey, we've seen how the archetype manifests in myths, psychology, and modern life. From Gaia to Kali, from Jung's theories to Freud's struggles, the Mother Archetype has shaped the human story in ways both universal and deeply personal. It reflects the forces that nurture and sustain us while challenging us to grow, to let go, and to transform. But this archetype is not just a relic of ancient myths or the pages of psychological texts. It is alive within us. It shapes how we care for others, how we connect with the world, and how we nurture our own growth. It reminds us that care is not a passive act, but a dynamic force, one that requires both giving and receiving, both holding on and letting go. In the words of Carl Jung, the mother is both the root and the soil from which we grow. This duality of grounding and growth, of stability and change, is the essence of the archetype. It teaches us that to truly live, we must embrace both its light and its shadow, its nurture and its challenge. So, as we conclude, let us reflect on the questions this archetype poses. How do we nurture without controlling? How do we care without losing ourselves? And how do we embrace growth without forgetting our roots? These are not easy questions, but they are essential ones. Questions that invite us to live with greater awareness, compassion, and courage. The Mother Archetype is ultimately a call to action. It asks us to show up for ourselves, for each other, and for the world. It asks us to honor the bonds that sustain us while daring to create new ones. And it asks us to remember that just as the mother nurtures the child, so too do we have the power to nurture life itself. In this timeless wisdom we find not only the essence of the Mother Archetype, but the essence of humanity. The journey of care, growth and transformation is one we all share, and it is one that begins always with the mother.